Oh, hey there. I didn't know that you were watching me. I'm just doing a little building, a little handyman work. Hey, speaking of building, I was reading 2 Samuel chapter 7 the other day, and I saw that David was completing his palace, and he wanted to build the Lord a temple. You know, do something good for God. And then he told Nathan, and Nathan said, hey man, let's do it. But then later on, Nathan had a dream, and God told him not to do it. So Nathan went to David and told David about his dream, and God ended up telling David that he didn't want him to build him a house. And I pondered and I thought, during this whole pandemic corona thing, we're so worked up about not being able to go to the church and not being able to be in the church building, but maybe it's not about the house. Maybe it's not about the house of God. Maybe it's about the God of the house. I did some more research and I saw in 2 Samuel chapter 7 that God didn't want David to build him a house. God told David that he was building him a house. He wasn't referring to a physical house, but more so about his household, his family, his sons, his lineage, his legacy. And I said, wow, David wanted to do God a favor, a good thing. Build him a temple, build him a house, a place of worship. He wanted to build him a church. But God didn't want that. God said, instead of you building me a house, I'm going to build you a house. And in this pandemic, I've come to grips that God doesn't want us to get so caught up on being in the house of God. He wants us to get more caught up on knowing the God of the house. In my devotion yesterday, I ended up in Psalm 127. And I read Psalm 127 and I said, wow, this is exactly what God is showing me. Psalm 127 said, except the Lord build the house, those that build labor in vain. And I said, wow, we're trying to build marriages, build families, build churches, build relationships, but we're doing it without God at the center. And except the Lord builds the house, except the Lord builds the marriage, except the Lord builds the family, those that try to build, we build in vain. Maybe we're trying to get too much of this and not enough this. Maybe we have on our neon vest and have our hyper tough drill and have our table saw and have our measuring tape and our treated wood, but we aren't drilling into God's word. We aren't cutting into the meat of the blessings God has for us. We aren't measuring our relationships with God. And unless we focus more on the God of the house than the house of God, we're going to miss everything God has for us. But then this morning I woke up and I got into my devotion and I ended up in John 14, talking again about building houses again, architecture, handyman work. And I noticed that God says that in his Father's house there are many mansions. Not these things, but mansions not made by man's hands. Talking about the glorious wonders of heaven. You know, that place paved with streets of gold. You know, they say that heaven is a prepared place for a prepared people. But I got older and realized that hell is a prepared place for a prepared people. What are we preparing for? What are we building for? Are we more concerned about building things for ourselves? Or are we more concerned about building ourselves for God? Let us not be workers of iniquity, and let us not build in vain. But let us work diligently for a cause greater than ourselves. Let us let God do the work, and let us have faith that God will do exactly what he said he would do. So in this pandemic, I challenge you to not only clean your counter surfaces, But I challenge you to clean, renew, and revive your understanding of your purpose. That you're not called to build for God. That God is building for you, but that takes you trusting Him to do it. This is Prophet AJ coming to you. Builder's Edition.